terrorists from the Resistance Front, a cheap rebrand of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, attacked tourists in Pahalgam. They dragged out 26 people and killed them for their religion. Terror did not come because we needed a vote. It came because Dawood and the ISI wanted to fracture India's financial spine. 10 men held the city of 20 million hostage. But the government of the day, the Congress party, chose strategic restraint. They chose diplomacy. They chose to send dossiers. Did it work? Did the non-populist approach buy us peace? No. Security is doing the hard, expensive, dangerous work of ensuring that a child in Dadar can go to the cinema without being blown up. To oppose the motion that India's policy towards Pakistan is populism disguised as security policy. Apologies for the mic. In plain terms, I stand here to tell you that not only is this claim false, but it is a fundamental misreading of my country's reality. And I do so not just as a member of the Oxford Union, but as a Mumbaikar, but as someone who has lived through the consequences of the India-Pakistan saga in his own home and heart. When in 2008, 10 terrorists stormed across iconic sites across my hometown, unleashing 3 days of bloodshed. One of those targets was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus, the very station that my aunt passed through almost every evening. By chance or by providence, she took a different train home that night, narrowly escaping the fate of the 166 souls that did not. Another target was the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, where my best friend's father, a major in the National Security Guard, was one of the first commandos to rappel into a burning inferno. I was a schoolboy then, glued to the television as my city burnt. I remember the fear in my mother's voice on the phone, the tension in my father's clenched jaw. For 3 nights, Mumbai did not sleep, and neither did I. As a child, I learned too early that security is not an abstract policy issue. It is the difference between life and death, the difference between a phone call from a loved one or a silence that lasts forever. I share this, not to darken the mood, but to ground this debate in reality. For me, this isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's painfully personal. The railway station, 200 meters from my childhood home, was bombed in the 1993 serial blasts that killed over 250 people. I grew up under the shadows of these tragedies. My parents, who are here in the chamber tonight, listening anxiously to their son, raised me with the stories of those dark days and the mantra that we must always be alert. So when someone claims that India's tough stance towards Pakistan is merely populism masquerading as security policy, you might understand why I bristle. It sounds like someone telling you that the locks on your doors are just for show, not because there are robberies in the neighborhood. The motion asserts that India's policy towards Pakistan is populism disguised as security policy. In other words, that India cynically fashions its Pakistan strategy just to win votes or applause rather than to genuinely protect itself. As the first speaker of the opposition, I reject this wholeheartedly. I will show you, step by step, how India's policy is primarily driven by legitimate security concerns and not cheap populism. And in doing so, I shall also flip the mirror to our friends, because if any nation has suffered from the leaders who wrap themselves in the flag of popularity, it isn't India, it is Pakistan. The proposition's argument is seductive. It suggests that the Indian states manufacture its threats, we invent boogeymen, that we use the border as a ballot box to whip up votes. They argue that when India strikes back, we're not protecting our citizens, we're performing for them. To win this debate, I do not need to use rhetoric. I simply need to use a calendar. If the proposition is true, if the Indian security policy is just populism, then crises should corroborate with the elections. The bomb should go off when the polls open. Let us look at the data and let us be inductive. I grew up in the heart of Mumbai. My home was not too far from where in March 1993, RDX explosives ripped through Plaza Cinema. It was a part of a coordinated series of 12 blasts that turned my city into a morgue. 257 people died. I was not born there, but I grew up with the crater it left in our psyche. Now ask yourself, was there an election in March 1993? No. That election was 3 years away. Was the government looking for a populist distraction? No. The government was weak. The economy was opening up and we were desperate for stability. Terror did not come because we needed a vote. It came because Dawood and the ISI wanted to fracture India's financial spine. That was not populism. That was an act of war. I remember my aunt once again, vividly. traveling through Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus. She pulled out of the train station at 9:27 p.m. and the terrorists entered at 9:30. 3 minutes is the difference between my aunt watching from home tonight and her being engraved in a memorial stone in South Bombay. 10 men held the city of 20 million hostage. Now look at the policy response. The proposition says that India is populist. What would a populist government do after 2611? The public rage was nuclear. I remember it. We wanted blood. We wanted the Air Force to flatten the training camps in Mudarke. A populist leader would have just launched the jets to win the next election. But the government of the day, the Congress party, chose strategic restraint. They chose diplomacy. They chose to send dossiers. They appealed to the international community. They appealed to you. Did it work? Did the non-populist approach buy us peace? No. We learned a hard lesson, Mr. President. You cannot shame a state that has no shame. 6 months ago, the proposition claims the skirmishes this May were electioneering. Check the dates. The elections for the Indian General Parliament were over. The government was secure. The government was secure. On 22nd of April, terrorists from the Resistance Front, a cheap rebrand of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, attacked tourists in Pahalgam. They dragged out 26 people and killed them for their religion. They didn't ask who they voted for. They executed them. India's response, Operation Sindoor, was launched on the 7th of May. Note the name, Sindoor, the vermilion mark of a Hindu wife. It was not Operation Thunder or Operation Wrath. It was named for the widows created by that massacre. It was a surgical dismantling of 9 launch pads. We degraded radar systems in Lahore. We punished the perpetrators. And then what? We stopped. We did not invade. We did not occupy. We did not hold a parade in Delhi. We re-established deterrence and went back to work. That is not populism. That is professionalism. The proposition confuses popular with populist. Yes, Mr. President, defending your citizens from being murdered is popular. Providing clean water is popular. Keeping the railways safe is popular. That does not make it a trick. Populism is promising easy answers to complex problems. Security is doing the hard, expensive, dangerous work of ensuring that a child in Dadar can go to the cinema without being blown up.